Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today we talk about youth, families, healthy communities, and the future of Iowa. Young professionals are choosing careers in prevention and making a difference in Iowa communities. Kayla Kraemer, Delaware County's prevention coordinator, is an example of an Iowan living and working for a safe and healthy Iowa. Let's meet Kayla. Kayla, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. So I am Kayla Kraemer. I am the DFC Prevention Coordinator for Helping Services for Youth and Family in Northeast Iowa. Just a little bit about me. So I did grow up in this area. So it really, getting to work and live here now still kind of hits close to home. And it's just a really great opportunity for me. So I attended the University of Northern Iowa and I attained my bachelor's degree in public health. I wasn't entirely sure as I was going through school what I kind of wanted to do with that. So I kind of bounced around to a few different positions. And eventually, after I finished college, I found myself landing in prevention. And that kind of brings me to where I am today.
Now, we see a huge change in the landscape of prevention professionals where we see many younger people getting engaged and involved. And it's almost as if there's a sense of responsibility because you're also a young parent, very young
Mhm.
parent. And this is a unique way to give back to a community. And a lot of people you talk to are often your age, or as old as your parents might be, or young enough to feel more close to you than somebody like me that walks in with gray hair. What kind of things, stimulated your interest in this profession?
I think just, knowing the different kind of things that I saw and faced and that my peers were seeing and facing when I was growing up, and throughout college and, even my early years after college, and then kind of working with different youth, regardless of whether that was in a, prevention capacity or not, just seeing the things that they were facing and how that's always evolving and kind of changing, and that our youth today are facing more variety and availability than definitely than your generation did, and even more than, like people my age did. And so just the more I kind of thought about that and witnessed that, it became important to me, to kind of be part of the effort in fighting that and giving them the tools and resources and the information that they need to kind of fight back and combat against that and make healthy choices.
One of the things that we've learned from some of the guests on our show that have been experts for many, many years in the field is that there are some potentially serious breakdowns in youth believing us
Hmm.
as older people. Um, and that's it's sort of great that younger professionals like yourself are choosing to be in prevention. But do you see that? And you can be honest with me. I'm not going to be hurt. I mean, do you see some of that you're able to bridge because of your connection with them?
Definitely. I do feel that I'm able to, and my coworkers my age are able to connect with the students a little bit better than, maybe somebody that we work with that's been doing it for 20, 30 years. They have, great knowledge and wisdom, but sometimes we find it can be a little bit more effective to almost pass that to us and then let us connect with the students. And even further, one of my favorite parts of my job is getting to work with our youth leadership groups within the schools. And we find, that these youth that also care and are kind of, the next generation of prevention are even more effective at reaching their peers because just, their peers see that they care, see the work that they're doing. And when they receive the information directly from them, they tend to be a little bit more receptive to it.
Well, that's really fascinating. So when you're out there and you're dealing with kids, just to give us a little taste of where we might go throughout the show, what are some of the concerns they have?
So we've definitely seen that not only, they care about the prevention of substances and alcohol use and stuff like that, but we've definitely seen the youth that we work with now are taking a turn and really, really care and have an interest in how that connects with mental health. Is something that they wanted to be doing a lot more with and kind of researching and looking into those connections and just that's something that they really relate to and find important.
For my generation, we didn't really know anything about mental health till we were
Mhm.
adults. It just wasn't part of the dialogue.
Yeah.
I presume that when you were growing up, it was began to be part of the dialogue, and it's a big part for kids now because they see it's not necessarily the particular substance, it may be what leads you to that place.
Mhm.
And that may be a radical shift in what prevention science is doing. Do you think that's part of your role here?
Oh, absolutely. I had ran some surveys back last spring when I was pretty new to the role within the schools, just kind of to gauge what student perceptions of substances and things like that were. So we, asked questions kind of similar to the Iowa Youth Survey about, have you used these substances? But then we also kind of got down to the why, and we had the students report anonymously on what is the reasoning that you're using these substances, what kind of led you to it, and overwhelmingly it was to cope with things going on at home, to deal with things going on at school. So a lot of students were using it as a coping skill, to address some of those mental health struggles rather than for other reasons.
That's really good information. We're going to take a short break, and we come back. We'll continue our conversation with Kayla. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Malware and bots and worms, oh my. The wild, wild web can be a scary and complex place. And as our digital world expands, so too are the threats. Watch out! Trojan horse. That's why at MediaCom, we take security very seriously and monitor our networks around the clock to stop threats before they can affect you. Not today, rude kid. Not all internet is created equal. We build ours to keep you connected and protected.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All MediaCom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your MediaCom account. Not a MediaCom cable subscriber? MediaCom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with Kayla about substance abuse prevention and the importance of helping our youth and families navigate the slippery slope of risky behaviors, and sort of what some of the stimulus is for saying, hey, this is an important thing for me as a mom or a parent to think about now differently than maybe it was when I was young. And you have a unique experience that you're just coming out of that you want to share with us that's going to give us all a little understanding of why this path is so important to you.
Yeah, so I am a new mom. My son will be 4 months old next week. So definitely making that transition from just being a prevention worker to being a prevention worker and a parent has been kind of interesting. And I find myself, as I'm working with youth and seeing the challenges they're facing now and what they're working on, thinking of what is that future going to look like for him? Because I know someday he will be facing similar challenges and dealing with a whole new realm of products that we cannot even fathom yet. And how will those be available? So it's becoming more important to me as a prevention worker and also a parent to, how can I connect with other parents, and how can we help to provide our, children with the tools that they need?
One of the issues often brought up with young people in any profession is that they don't necessarily they have the ability, but they don't necessarily have the knowledge, the information, the resources, the data, lived as an everyday experience for many years, which in some cases may be not so good because for many of us, we're obsolete in terms of some of the new challenges. But what you do have is a much better connection to the community, the people, young parents.
Mhm.
Um, how does your credibility get stressed in a good way? And how do you engage them in a way that says, hey, I can help you. I may be like you or close to your age, but I have the ability to really take you somewhere. What are some of the key messages you have to share there?
I think really, some of the most important things is just making sure that parents also have the information. So how can we connect and provide that to them? I when I talk with, even just friends who have children around the same age and we end up talking about work and I kind of bring some of this up, I always find myself going to, I used to not know anything. I was new to prevention and I had to educate myself and I had to learn, but now I feel a lot better equipped to, connect with youth and to someday be having those conversations with my own son. So I think just providing parents with resources. We've ran the Healthy Delaware County Coalition that I work with has ran the Talk They Hear You campaign, which is an awesome one. And we've received pretty good feedback from parents, that, I never thought it could be that simple, and what a good tool to help me start those conversations with my kids.
That's very, very fascinating. What do you see as the biggest challenge communicating with parents, and especially young parents? Because is there some tunnel vision or some stigma that makes this a hard area to address?
I think yes and no. And I think it also kind of depends on the generation of parents you're talking about. I feel like young parents are a lot more susceptible. And part of it is because, like you kind of mentioned, that brain health and mental health is something that was kind of coming into focus as we were growing up. And that component of it, and just destigmatizing different things. Whereas parents who maybe have children who are already in high school or are coming into early adulthood aren't quite as comfortable with talking about those certain topics.
If children aren't getting these conversations with their parents, and if they're not getting them with prevention people and in their schools as part of the educational process, where are they learning about these risks?
The internet is a big place for them to learn about the risks. It can be a great tool for education and for them to do research. Your Life Iowa is obviously a fantastic resource. But then it's kind of, a double-edged sword, where it's also a place where they can find information about all the new substances that are out there, how it can make them feel. They can connect, they can use it, as a tool for good, or, for kind of more of a negative side. And otherwise, the youth groups and their peers in school are sharing all the time, and we're hoping that we have like our youth leadership groups, that they're connecting with the students and giving them that good information.
So do you think that especially with social media, and even all of Iowa leaders are now really getting scared of the effect of social media on kids as a sort of a parent that's not really a parent, they're really predators. Is it a scary situation for a young mother like yourself?
Definitely. It's definitely something that concerns me. And, I just, when we get to that bridge and have to cross it, I, feel grateful that I will have the tools, and I would like to share those tools with other parents on how to have those conversations with my son, let him know the expectations that me and his dad have for him. Let him know that we're always a safe person to come and talk to, and just keep those lines of communication really open.
Well, this is a lot to take in. I need a deep breath. We're going to take another short break. We come back, we're going to continue our conversation about the value of prevention education and community engagement. Parents, friends, grandparents, there's so much power in the messaging in the community, and Kayla's going to talk to us about it. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Glitching.
I told you, with our new Extreme Internet, it will be smooth streaming.
That's unbelievable.
Well, you better believe it, Missy.
I already finished streaming the whole second season of my show.
So start the third.
What the fast? That's really not frustrating.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You should.
I'm gonna get some ice cream. Do you want some?
With the drama-free reliability of Extreme Internet, you'll have to create your own. Get super fast internet with whole home Wi-Fi for as low as $24.99 a month for a year.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove. You told me not to do drugs. You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
The fact is, we use the internet for almost everything we do. Smart cage, feed beaker. So when the internet doesn't work the way it should, you don't work the way you should.
Kevin!
That's why more homes and businesses rely on Mediacom. Our fiber-powered network delivers 99.99% reliability. And with 650,000 miles of fiber, we have more paths of connection and more ways to avoid outages. Not all internet is created equal. We build ours for you to rely on.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're with Kayla. And we're learning about the trends in communities where they're working together to address the dangers that threaten their health and safety. This is a great thing happening, and coalitions are often at the center of it. Kayla, tell us a little bit about some of that happening in your communities.
Yeah, so we are very fortunate that a few of the schools that we work with, most of the schools that we work with, are very receptive and open and wanting to be part of the solution to these problems that we face. So especially as we're seeing, new administrators and things like that coming in that also have a little bit of kind of a fresh set of eyes on the problems. We've been making some really great connections, and they've had great input when it comes to the coalition and what they bring to the table.
So what are some of the, can you share any stories of things that sort of made you feel pretty good when you experienced them going out there in the community?
Definitely. So specifically, we have started this last year implementing a curriculum-based support group in one of our county schools. Tried it in all three, but unfortunately scheduling just didn't quite allow it. So we're going to shoot again for next year. But that was working with some 4th and 5th grade kiddos, and just the feedback that I got from the kids, when they first came into the class, they were a little not sure kind of what to think. And but by the end, they were coming in every week to meet with me, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. This is my favorite part of the week this week. And it was great knowing that we were connecting with some of those kind of higher risk kids, and we were really helping to provide them the information and those skills that they need to face the situations that they're in.
Now, for many parents, they think 4th and 5th grade is too early. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely not. So it seems really young, but they're being exposed to things so much earlier than we would think. They may not have much knowledge on it, but the exposure is still there, whether they're seeing it in internet ads, if they're seeing, older students around the school or hearing them talk about it, the exposure is there. And some people have the concern that if we just don't talk about it, they won't learn about it, but they're going to learn about it somewhere. So we would much rather that be from, us in prevention and giving them information so they have the resources that they need and they can make informed choices.
A lot of lessons in schools are, history, math, science, and things, music, things that kids bring home to their parents, and their parents aren't always experts in, but they enjoy connecting with their kids. Now we have an issue of prevention science that says we need to talk to kids when they're really young. And they're really starting someplace where even parents are. Neither party knows a lot about this. Mm-hmm. So is this a signal that not only should parents be talking to their kids at a young age, but to get the tools, they might also be sharing in the prevention resources that both their young children would be exposed to and that they can learn from so they can have those conversations with their kids?
Definitely. I think it's, another big part of our job, even being in, a youth focused kind of place, is to also reach those parents and use different, for example, the coalition right now is working on a parent focused marijuana campaign. So we have one of the youth groups working on one for the students, but we're kind of trying to target the parents and tell them, hey, this, the marijuana that they're using is not the same marijuana that it used to be. And there's a lot of dangers associated with it. Here's what you need to know, and here's how you can talk to your kids.
We've even seen our Iowa legislature and hopefully the governor responding to the risk of THC, the dangerous part of marijuana that predators are pushing at all ages in the state. Mm-hmm. How serious is this risk of marijuana? Is it taking our youth by storm? Is it something that parents need to be really concerned about?
I think definitely. And a big part of the concern is that they're not they're not just smoking it. It's available in so many different forms. There's obviously smoking it. Some students are using dabs. We're seeing a lot of vaping the THC in the schools, and kiddos getting the good policy or good conduct policy violations for that. There's even, I'm sure you have, but the climbing kites where it's being infused into drinks now, and the candy and just everything. They really try to make it as appealing to the youth as possible. And I think that that's something in the prevention field that we need to focus on shifting that. If the products are going to exist, they at least should not be being marketed to the youth and be made to look and sound so appealing.
Yeah, we see a huge explosion in Iowa of edibles like gummies and things like that with
Mhm.
ridiculously high potencies. And a lot of kids, a lot of calls to the poison control center and kids going to emergency rooms. Is
Yeah.
this starting to resonate with parents that this is risky, or do we still have a long way to go to get many parents up on this?
I think we're definitely making some progress. So one of our youth groups chose to host the Hidden in Plain Sight during parent-teacher conferences. I believe that was 2 weeks ago. And we had a good amount of parents come through and just could not believe how much was out there, and how it's made to look, so innocent. Like it looks like just a candy bar that should be for kids. Something that we also kind of noticed, and as we were talking to parents, was, like you said, about the potency. A lot of them are getting by under the farm bill and that 0.3%. But then when you look at the serving size on the packaging, you could have a candy bar, the size of your phone screen that is supposed to have 60 some servings in it. And so it's definitely something that we're making some progress on, but I think it's good to help kind of open parents' eyes and show them what's out there.
Oh, that's fantastic. We're going to take a short break and we're going to ask Kayla to share some final comments, insights, and inspiration that you don't want to miss. See you all after the break.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Growing antsy for your favorite sports to return? Lack of quality programming got you down? Well, worry no longer, because Inside Sports is here to satisfy your cravings for the savings, your need for speed, your desire for the umpire. You get the message, right? Tune in to Inside Sports to get a deeper look at athletes on and off the mat, the track, and even the Wi-Fi? Yup, if there's action, you can bet we've got you covered on Inside Sports, only on MC22. Stream online on MC22.net and on our channel Monday and Fridays.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we explored the value of prevention education, community engagement, and the role of parents in keeping their children safe in this really, really dynamic environment where kids have a lot of risks they have to navigate. So let's see what final insights and inspiration Kayla has to share with us. Kayla, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I guess I just want to kind of address parents a little more specifically. We talked a lot about having these conversations with our kids and why it's important. But I think I just kind of like to arm you and leave you with a few tools in exactly how to have those conversations. So, it's definitely important when you're talking to your children about this, that you want to set really clear expectations. You want to let them know what you expect from them, and how you would kind of like that to look, and also model that for your kids. So, if you're telling them, we really don't want you to use alcohol, but then you're coming home every night after work and you're having a beer or a glass of wine, that's not really modeling that behavior, for your students. That's not to say that you, as, an adult, can never enjoy it, but just to kind of be mindful of that and model that behavior for your child. Keep the communication open. Let them know that this is not just a one-stop shop conversation. They can come to you anytime, and just kind of have it be a continuous line of communication. Say they express that there's something going on or that they're thinking about to you, check back in with them a week later. Hey, I know you kind of mentioned this. What's going on now? Do you feel like you need anything from us to kind of help you deal with that? Let them know that you are a safe space. If they come to you with something, they don't need to be afraid. You will help them. You care about them. You love them. You want to support them. Start early. We kind of talked about that a little bit in the last segment, but as soon as you think that these conversations could be something that could being had, and it might be different the way you have a conversation with a 4th or 5th grader versus a high schooler, but you can always start those conversations and let those expectations be known early and clearly, and then provide information and resources. whether that means getting those from your local, kind of prevention agency or doing some research yourself. I mentioned Your Life Iowa before is a great one, but also help to provide your students, those resources. And while you're having these conversations with them, if they're, bringing up concerns that they're seeing in school, don't be afraid to, have a little agency and take some initiative and bring that to school administrators as well, because they might not be seeing or hearing everything that the students are, and you can kind of help to bridge that gap and bring that connection and light to what exactly is going on within their school.
Now, we know that very young students, very young children, look up to their parents for guidance. And we know from talking to them that they have a very difficult time bringing up these conversations with their children. With their parents, because they know that if I bring it up, they're going to say, what's happening? Is something going on in your school? And they know a parent's reaction to protect. So is it sort of a responsibility of parents, people seeing the show, of going out and making that effort, knowing the kids have this desire to connect with them and get those boundaries, but they don't really know how to open the door to talking to parents, and that's a parent's job to open that door? Is there truth in that?
Yeah, I would say definitely, and even if that means, maybe not having some big production of a conversation right at first, but just making the comment as simple, to your child as, hey, I just want to let you know that we know these things are out there. And if you ever need to talk to us, if you have concerns, if you have questions, we are here. We are open to talking about it.
So now let me ask you sort of a trick question. If you could go back in time to when you were a 4th or 5th grader and you could sort of talk to them like an angel on the shoulder, what do you think is sort of emblematic of what do you think is some of the key messages you would share with a 4th grade Kayla?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when I was around that age, I actually lost my father he had had a history with substances, and it just really took a toll on his health. And so there are definitely, some things that I wish an adult would have reached out to me and had conversations with me. I think just, kind of talking to them about how things, can get tough sometimes, but substances aren't the answer. It's important to, build a support network around you, try to make healthy choices, reach out to trusted adults in your life, and surround yourself with friends who are making similar healthy choices.
Well, thank you so very much for sharing with us today. And thank you all for watching today. Check out our website at healthyiowa.org and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. On MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.